Hi, I'm going to cut to close-ups fairly soon because what I'm going to look at is chord changing. It's something that I've been asked about in terms of videos, and it's obviously quite a big issue with guitar. And one of the things I've noticed with pupils is one of the most off-putting things. You see people on telly making it all look dead easy, and then you learn to play and you learn your first few chords and you're going, and chord changes are really slow and awkward. So I'll cut to the chase. One of the things you'll want to look for is economy of movement. The strength of playing is going to come, the strength's in your hands, it's more about learning how to apply it. So you've got to learn to save yourself a lot of effort, really. You'll play a chord, maybe get it sounding okay, and then you'll go to the next chord and let go, and your fingers come away and your hand probably turns out a bit. So we've got to cut all that out. You've got to take the shortest possible route to the next chord. So you want to see my lovely face, you'll see my hands, because obviously you need to see this in close-up. So we'll cut to that and I'll talk through it as I'm doing it as well. Okay, a couple of other quick tips in general with the left-hand positioning. Don't let your elbow be squished in against the side of your body. It twists everything out. Okay, bring your elbow out. Should be a bit of a gap between your elbow and your body. Not forced like this. Not too forced. It will become more relaxed, but you will start to be aware that this is very tense when the elbow comes clamping in. But it's a result of putting pressure on the fretboard that pulls the elbow in. So you basically got to realise that we're often using way too much effort. Okay. So that keeps your hand straight onto the fretboard. Playing at the bottom end of the fretboard here, it's probably the most strenuous place to play. It's where we all start playing. So there's a paradox there. Your thumb is not meant to provide grip as such. Your thumb should be a buttress against the pressure you're putting onto the strings with your fingers on the front of the fretboard. Okay, so if you can see my thumb here, if I over grip, I'll see my thumb going like that, really clamping down, okay? If I'm just pushing, it's going to move a little bit, but it's nowhere near as much. And just having the awareness of that is going to help you immensely. We've all suffered that pain down here at the bottom of the thumb, especially playing bar chords. Okay, we want to get rid of that. It's strenuous enough as it is. Okay, so we'll crack on. Okay, I'll start with an obvious one. I've got to assume you at least know some of these chord shapes, so let's pick two nice easy ones that are going to move easily as well. Frankly, A minor and E major. So here's your A minor shape. Okay. You've got that sounding okay. Now, this might seem too obvious, but we'll go for it anyway for the complete beginners. At first, as soon as you put all that pressure on a chord and you're learning, when you release it, your hand wants to relax and will, at the very least, do something like this probably. It might even kind of turn out like that. If you're going to E major, you probably realise it's exactly the same shape. So what I'm going to do is just going to literally, I'm not even going to lose contact with the strings, I'm just going to shuffle my fingers across like that. So what I'm doing here is just holding the shape, okay? Don't worry, we'll get to more complicated ones in a minute, okay? But you can see that, so not even losing contact with the strings, I'm just shuffling across like that, okay? So if you're finding that you kind of go, there's the chord, and then have to do all that again, it's extra effort really, and it's wasting your time in terms of changing to the next chord. Okay, that's enough for that one. We'll move on to a different one. Okay, so now we'll look at a different chord change. C to D minor, so we're still using basic chords, so you should know C and D minor. Maybe not as obvious as the A minor to E, but here we go anyway. So there's our C chord. Get nice and close up behind the frets. That's the other thing that saves you effort. Always be right behind the frets, never be halfway between them. You can use less effort. There's my C chord sounding. Now, most people when they're first playing, they'll relax the hand and this happens. That's fine, it wants to be relaxed. But you can control that relaxation as well. That sounds strange. So they look very different. People do that and they go, right, D minor, I'm going to do this. Okay, I use my little finger mostly. You've got to be able to play it either way. But that's for another time. So I'm going to use my little finger. The same principle applies. I move from C to D minor. Now the key here is look at these two fingers, my first finger and my middle finger. They're doing a very similar thing to what happened in A minor to E. They just drop down a string. If I've been playing my C, my little finger's lurking around here. Anyway, it's just going to be dropping onto this note here. 3rd fret on the 2nd string. So instead of having that happen and then rearranging into that, we look for that common ground again. So 1st and 2nd fingers just slid across onto the next string. Another thing to remember here is the thumb position, very important part. Very often playing down here, or in general, people's thumbs will wander off down there. It makes you kind of squish up like this a lot. It's not very good for your wrists and hands in the long run, and it actually makes it awkward to stretch out. So you want to keep your thumb, well, not as strict as classical players maybe, where they'll have it right behind the middle finger a lot. We're going to make it be a little bit more relaxed because of the shape of the neck. So it's, for me, it's sort of just behind where my middle finger is. It's not as far back as that. Okay, but it's more sort of in the middle of the hand to help spread the load of when you're pushing chords down. And I'm not letting my hand move as much as possible. You know, I want to restrict how I don't want my hand twitching about while I'm changing chords. It's got to be my fingers as much as possible. Okay, we'll move on to another one. Now I'm going to play D minor and G. So, notice I'm playing G with these 3 fingers. Some of you will want to play G like that, or like that. So we'll have to look at all these. So, but first off, I'm going to do it partly to make this effective as possible. It will be a big stretch for some of you, especially if you're younger, small hands. Okay, now look with my 3rd finger's lurking around here, just waiting to get to that G down there. So if it's already here, it's not got very far to go. So again, it's about seeing these things. I can tell you them, but you've got to see them for yourself. So again, the main thing is relax off the D. Fingers are just either waving around or coming back over here. So, and then using my little finger for that top note, that only has to skip across like that. Okay. Another thing is, my middle finger doesn't have very far to move, really. Once you see it there, you'll start to see these everywhere, and that's the point. We can't do all the chord changes here. But I'm keeping my fingers moving in low across the strings and going in hopefully in a straight line to the next place they're going to play a note. Not too much arcing across like that. Basically don't lift off very far. Okay, so let's look at if you're going to play the G like this. Well, you know, it's harder to explain really, but basically these 2 fingers again, they're nearly in the right place relative to each other to move straight across, but as you move across here, you're going to try and get them to fall into place like that. So they're roughly staying, you know, staying the same relative to each other as they were in D minor, even though they're coming all the way across the fretboard. My little finger just has to skip 1 string again. And if you want to use your 3rd finger, that should already be, look where it is now, it's pretty close. Okay. Again, economy of movement. Let's try another one. Okay, G to C, another very common chord movement, but again, we're using this to look at easy ways of getting there, making the movement easier. Now again, I'm playing the G with these 3 fingers, my 3rd, middle and little finger. Maybe a bit much of a stretch for the smaller hands again, but if you can get into this one, it's really useful. Okay, you're going to see straight away, if I want to move to C from here, these two fingers, my middle finger and third finger, as in some of those other chord changes, only have to just skim across. Again, I'm not even losing contact with the strings. By this point, each finger's touching two strings and it's just sneaking onto the next string. My little finger being up here, that's the awkward part of this stretch, but you just have to work on them. There's no easy way around that one really. Well, we can look at stretching out in a different video. And my first finger, well, look where it is, it's not far away from where it's going to go into that C, and to be honest, it's more over the third string now, but as these two fingers come across, that takes that first finger. I'll try and move around a bit. Into position there. Okay, if you're going to play the G like this, or like this, it's a little bit fiddlier, but the same principle, you know, again, same principles are what apply here, economy movement. So I'm basically not going to let my hand come away. I repeat these instructions, don't come away like that. I'm going to keep my hand as still as possible and my fingers are going to do the work. Okay, or if it's like that, pretty much the same. And all I'm doing is sounding the chord. I'm not trying to play some fancy rhythm or anything, that's got to come in separately. And we'll deal with that at another point, okay? But that's really the essence of good chord changing. Some chords you don't even need to move a finger. If you're playing G to E minor, whichever way you're playing G, one finger will stay in place. Look at that first finger, okay, it has to shuffle out of the way a little bit, but it's not leaving the string. My first finger is just staying on that second fret. Even if I play it this way around, it's my middle finger that stays put, and it's a nice anchor, and it helps me reduce movement in the hand. C to A minor, only one finger really moves, this has to shuffle again. When you do this, sometimes you'll feel like your hand wanted to kick out. That's a sign that you've got to kind of relax a bit more. So let that tension go. If you're really clamped up on it, and as soon as you let go, then it's got to go somewhere, and that's when the hand kicks out. Okay. People, of course, hate playing bar chords at first, and F is probably one of the hardest ones where it is on the fretboard, down at the bottom of the fretboard. F to C, third finger just stays put. Get that bar finger nice and straight and get the pressure even across the strings. It's very easy to be using this part of your finger and putting too much pressure on the top two strings, or some people will put all the pressure on this, on the fingertip down here. But it's got to be even when you're playing a bar. Even pressure across the strings, like that. Slightly onto this side of the finger. So excuse my mucky fingers, I've been working on the car. Okay, well I think that kind of about sums it up. I'm going to wrap this up now. And of course, if anyone wants to ask me questions, that's great. We love questions. Okay, well, I think that's enough for now. We could go on for ages about loads of different chords. It would be pointless to do a list of every chord change, and you couldn't get there. It would be very, very tedious to sit through a video like that. So it's the principles that we're on about here. Economy of movement. Make it easy for yourself, really. That sounds very simplistic, but we all want to do that, don't we? That awareness of where you're using effort that you don't really need to, which we all do. Okay, some of that comes with time naturally, but if you can have that in your head as you're playing, you can start to relax a lot more and the changes will come smoother and quicker. Okay, please feel free to give me some feedback on this. That would be very much appreciated. And hopefully I'll have something more for you, and send any requests on anything you'd like to learn. Okay, thanks.